Yes, and I'm back. Allison, I'll just wait for until I see you. Obviously, this topic we talking about today must be a good topic because it's not often that we have issues. But today we're having issues. Okay, it says Allison is watching, and that's it. Mm, I know Facebook is not going to do this today. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm trying to get Allison on here. Let me see if I can. Okay, I invited her to watch. Yeah, Allison is not bringing you. Oh, there it is. Yes, at Facebook changing up some stuff. They don't want us to be great, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. Cause you know I was gonna figure it out one way or another. But we're gonna do this again. And for those that were on the previous live that I had to start over, I appreciate you. Here she comes. Girl, I don't know
Hi.
what's going on.
I'm good. How are you?
Girl, is great. I am doing great for this first Sunday of 2018.
Yay!
Girl, I'm just trying not to get sick. I will drink all the water just to make sure I don't get sick because I don't like getting sick.
Me,
But
I understand.
hey,
Yeah.
hey everybody, this is Soul Sunday with Ruby and Allison for the first Sunday of 2018.
Happy New
We
Year.
exactly Happy New Year. And today's topic is going to be on the miseducation of self. Now, I've talked about the miseducation of self before, but it was only briefly. And of course, with it being a new year and we are working on a better us, I'm not going to say a new us, just a better
That's
us.
right.
We have to formulate these definitions and understandings of who we are from our perspective and not everybody else's.
Right.
But before we get into that, if you feel that anything that we say is beneficial or you feel like it could benefit someone else, please feel free to share. If you have any questions, please ask. Put it in the comment. We are all for engagement.
Yes.
So definitely do that. But I'm Ruby D of Ruby D Artistry, and I'm the Goddess Entrepreneur. I am the author of The Goddess Grind. I am an esthetician. I own my own skincare company. Happy New Year, Randy. And I just became certified in REBT, which I'll go give a little more information about that at the end. And we have Miss Allison.
Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Allison with Be Still and Move. I'm a transformational coach. I speak, I counsel, I heal, I help, I listen, more importantly. And my organization is designed to help you heal, grow, and live beyond that relationship status by becoming better, not bitter, and enjoying your life along the journey.
Yes, it does. Yes. But with it being a new year, let me just give you all a little bit of a background of what Soul Sunday is. Last year, early November, I decided that with it being the holidays, I wanted to do Facebook Lives where we talk about topics that matter. And I'm an advocate of self, and Allison is the same way. So I reached out to her for us to do this together. And of course, she said yes. Thank you, girl. I sure
You
appreciate
are
you. But
welcome.
hey Joseph, hey Dolores. But Soul Sundays were basically designed to, if your previous week wasn't the best, then this is sort of like a time to just kind of take time out to reflect, talk about some real things so we can get the next week started on a good note. So that's what we're doing today when we're talking about the miseducation of self. Now, y'all know now is the time we can pretty much make up any word and we'll see it in a dictionary, later. But to me, just to give you a background with with all of the episodes that we do, I kind of give a background or a definition for us to start with on our topic. So, of course, the topic is miseducation itself. So, what is the definition of miseducation? Well, with looking up miseducation, it just says to educate improperly. So then I'm like, well, okay, let me look up the definition of education. And of course, I use Google, and I actually found two. Well, actually, it's more than two, but I felt like these two were more beneficial about what we were talking about. But the first definition of education that I came across says the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction or an enlightening experience. And then the second definition that I wrote down was the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and generally preparing oneself or others intellectually for a mature life. Now, those are two they're quite different definitions, but of course, they pretty much say the same thing.
Yes.
But when I go back to and think about what miseducation is, it's basically doing the opposite of what these definitions are saying, or ineffectively, doing what these definitions are saying. So if education is the process of receiving or giving systemic instruction, then it's the opposite of that, which is you're not really giving systematic instruction. Or the way that I like to look at it is the information that you're giving is not really beneficial. It's not going to help the person. You're not really educating them. And it's not an enlightening experience. And of course, with the other definition where it says the longer one, I'm not even going to read it again, but you're basically not preparing them you're not preparing them intellectually for a mature life. And now my definition of the whole term, which is miseducation itself, is where you're basically it's how others view us, how others give information about who we are as opposed to us defining who we are. So we listen to other people tell us about us, tell us what we feel, tell us how we should think, tell us things that we should do. And they're pretty much miseducating us on who we are because they don't completely know who we are. So, and in a nutshell, that's what miseducation itself is, in my opinion. And so, of course, I'm going to let Allison give her definition of miseducation itself.
You're going to find it hard to believe, but I don't know if I have too much more to add.
You okay? You okay today?
Shout out to my soror, Nicole, who just signed on, and shout out to Belinda. Thank you guys for watching. So,
yes, thank you.
Going on with what Ruby was talking about, what stuck out to me was the part about not allowing something to mature. And the reason I think that's so important, and this is something that I had to learn throughout my journey so far, we have a tendency to think that good things happen if we're doing right, and only bad things happen when we're doing wrong. And when we really look at the definition of maturity, you can even look at the process of building yourself up. If you decide you want to tone up, if you decide you want more muscle, well, that is considered mature. When you start seeing bodybuilders, they have matured muscles, but they started off by being broken down. And so one of the biggest things that I think the miseducation itself is a negative, where it's a negative, where it can be a detriment to someone's life, is when you continue to think that same mindset that we may have as children. When you're children, you're innocent. You don't really know what to expect. You don't know that life is going to hit you. And so I think part of the miseducation itself is when you continue to have that same childlike mindset and think that everything is supposed to go right, and not allowing yourself to go through and grow through the things that go wrong. So that's all I have.
Okay, well, I don't know what's wrong with Allison today, but she's keeping it kind of short. But that's all right. She's just warming up.
That's all that is.
So, to add to what she was saying, as far as, well, let me just go back a little bit with the idea of miseducation of self. It just kind of came to mind. Of course, when I sleep, I have a lot of ideas that come to mind because I have a lot of brain activity, which some of you can relate, some of you may not be able to, but that's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I come up with a lot of things while I'm asleep. I think a lot while I'm asleep. And I don't know where it comes from. No, let me not say I don't know where it comes from. I do know. But when you think of, it made me think of the album by Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, the miseducation itself, it's so much or so often that we listen to other people, even as we are growing up. When our parents tell us what we should like, when our parents tell us what we should do, when our parents tell us what we don't like and what we don't do. Like, you can be young and say, well, I don't like chicken. Well, your mom says, well, you're going to eat this chicken whether you want it or not. Then, okay, we end up eating it. But that's not really who we are, what we want. But we just go with it because, of course, at that particular time, we were children.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes something that becomes indoctrinated in us because we're already listening to our parents tell us who we are, what we should do, what we should like, and vice versa. So then, of course, we go to school. Now we have a teacher telling us what we should do, what we should like. We have the babysitter telling us what we should do, what we should like. We go to church, people at church telling you the same things. You have your friends telling you the same thing. And then as you get older, you just have so much of everybody outside of you telling you who you should be, what you should do, and all of this. And throughout this whole time, we really never get to know who we are. We never really get the opportunity to express who we are and understand what it is that we really want and what it is that we really need and desire, and be able to be able to effectively communicate that to other people. So now we're adults and we're completely lost about who we are, and now we want to find ourselves, and now we want to really figure out who we are and what it is we like, and we don't even know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, that's where the miseducation itself came from, because now that you've gone through all of these years learning about yourself from somebody else, now you pretty much have to start all over.
Yeah.
And that can take a lot of work because you've grown up in this environment. And when I say environment, I'm just referring to yourself. You've grown up within your own environment thinking you're one person, and that's nowhere near who you are.
It's true.
So that's where miseducation itself came from. And I was just like, at one particular point in time, I was there. I listened to somebody tell me what I should like, what I should do. I should go to college and get this good money and get this good job and all this other kind of stuff. But then I end up stressed, depressed, and all this other kind of stuff, unhealthy. And it's just like, oh, so this is really what y'all wanted me to do?
Right.
Like, really?
Right.
Because this is what y'all are doing? And it's just like, no. And so I had to get to the point where I had to really take some time and think about what Ruby wanted. Ruby over everything. What Ruby liked to eat. What Ruby don't like. What she, like to listen to. Who she don't like to hang around and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Allison, I'm gonna, take a little break and let you chime in a little bit because I know your brain over there.
You know it is. All right. Shout out to Dorian, Daniel, Jamila, Gwenny B. I hope I didn't forget anybody for signing in since Ruby was discussing how she came up with this awesome topic. Thank you guys for watching. Give us some likes and
Yes,
some
thank
loves.
you.
Let us know that you're still there. Send us a little bit of feedback. So, what I found odd
Mhm.
is when I first heard you discuss miseducation of self, I thought about the miseducation of Lauryn Hill too. And
Mhm.
what I find odd is I started to think about her transformation after that album. So
Mhm.
we had the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill where she talked from her path and her journey at that point, and she was sure of herself. She was sure of her talent. She was sure of all of these things. And
Right.
then I believe it was the Unplugged album she did several years after that. She came back and talked about how, in the process of talking about the miseducation of self, she ended up getting wrapped up in the hype of the album. She found herself at
Mm-hmm.
a point where she wouldn't even go outside without having her makeup done. She wouldn't. There were a lot of things she didn't care about before that she found herself caring about now, and she said she needed to unplug. And so one of the things that I think about when we're talking about miseducation of self, just like you said, you went through that process. I want people to understand that it is a process. You can be
Right.
taken off track. You can have things that distract you, and things that cause you to maybe get off the path for a little bit. But what I love about learning about you is it's kind of like riding on a highway. If you really know about you, and let's just parallel it to being on the highway. If you're on the highway and you know how they have those markers, and some of them have those little things that make all that noise if you happen to ride
Mm-hmm.
on them. Well, some people may not know this, but those are there. They are reflectors, but they're also there for those who may be traveling and are sleepy. So if they happen to
Right.
run over those things, it's to wake them up. Hey, hey,
Right.
wake up, get back on your side. And what I love about you taking the time to learn you, what you like, what you don't like, unplug from those things that our well meaning educators and babysitters and parents taught us. When you start to really learn you, you get back on track so much quicker. You don't end up
Exactly.
crossing the whole lane. You end up hearing those reflectors and saying, ah, hold on, that's not me. Here. Let me get
Right.
over here. And that's what I love about taking that time. Your parents loved you. My parents loved me. But one thing, and I talked about this last year on my page, one thing that we have to remember is that our children, which means us because we're someone's children, we are not sequels of our parents' lives. We are just
Mm-hmm.
originals that have passed through. And so while there may be things that our parents wish they hadn't done, that they may want to see us avoid, our path may necessitate that we go through that same path so that we can get where we're supposed to go. And just like
Right.
maybe things that worked for them that they want to put into us, we have to also understand that our path may necessitate that we do something differently. And you have to be willing to stand firm on that, especially if you are someone who does something that's against the grain, against whatever your family has done. You're going to be called
Mm-hmm.
crazy. You're going to say you're thinking weird and you're talking weird. When I decided to go natural, my family thought I had lost my mind. When I said I was getting dreadlocks, they thought I had lost my mind. Just little things like
Right.
that. But it was me on that path to finding out that I know what I like. And hair is not
Right.
a big deal in terms of, other things that you need to look for within. But one of the expressions rather for a lot of people who decide to quote unquote go natural, which really means return natural, another topic for another day, but a lot of
Right.
that is you embracing you. And that's one of the ways that you can start to turn the tide on that miseducation. Just learning, okay, the things that I'm doing to myself, to my body, to for my job, going into this building every day because people said I need to get a good job, and me getting, whatever it is that I'm doing, is it me or is it what I've been told is me? And so that's
Right.
what I like about this topic.
Well, thank you for your input there, ma'am. Now, now, of course, before we get to the good stuff, we have to kind of talk about some not so good things or not so good results of being miseducated itself.
Hmm.
Now, of course, I'm all in the chakras and I'm always going to find some way to put this in because it's important that we learn about this because it's not anything that they're going to teach us
Right.
as children in the church or just period. But when we think about, hey, Adrian, hey, Ra, hey, Miss Lakeisha, hey, Takira, thank y'all for watching. I'm sorry, me and Allison just talking, but if you're just tuning in, this particular topic is about the miseducation of self. And now, um, with thinking about the miseducation itself, first thing it's us pretty much having confidence in ourselves, how we view ourselves, how we share ourselves with other people, just pretty much anything that has to do with us and having this relationship with ourselves. But the chakra that's associated with us and our willpower, that will be our solar plexus chakra. So when there's a lack of self-confidence, then you don't feel comfortable with sharing who you are with other people, who you really are with other people. So therefore, you allow people to continue to tell you who you are. You don't, whenever you want to pursue something, sometimes you don't necessarily pursue it because you're afraid of what other people may say or what other people may think. And of course, that has to do with your solar plexus chakra because that's where your willpower resides. Also, when you're communicating with other people or you start to build an emotional attachment to other people, and even people that you don't have any emotional connection to, it's just sometimes when people do things, you allow it to get under your skin. And it's just like, if you were more in control of who you are and you were more aware of who you are, and those little things that other people do, they wouldn't be able to get under your skin like that. They wouldn't be able to affect you because you know that they're a non-factor, that nothing that they do matters to you. It doesn't affect who you are. That's just a reflection of them. Another chakra that is affected by the miseducation of self is your throat chakra, because you don't know how to speak your truth. You don't know how to speak up for yourself. You don't know how to not only speak up for yourself, but speak loud enough for yourself. You can be over there talking all day, but if nobody ever hears you, then it's still as if you were over there being completely silent. You also have to listen to yourself. That's why we have intuition to tell us who's for us, who's not for us, discernment.
Yes.
And you know, there's also a lack of self-definition. You don't know how to define yourself. I mean, and that's just pretty self-explanatory. But it's just one of the reasons that I really wanted to go more into this topic is because, you know, on the surface, it's just like, well, okay, well, miseducation itself, I kind of get it. But when you don't dive deep into it and discuss it, then you never really understand how it affects you on a continuous basis, on a daily basis. And that's pretty much what we're getting into today. So, you got anything else you want to add to that, Allison?
No, I'm learning about chakras through you, so we can move right on. We can move right on.
But you know, that's just a few of some of the detriments. Well, maybe I shouldn't use the word detriments, but it's definitely not to our benefit. But you know, just a few of the things that affect us, you know, just from that aspect. Now, some of the benefits of self definition would be, of course, you defining who you are and you feeling confident in sharing who you truly are with other people. And it doesn't matter what they think, what they say about you. It doesn't matter whether they feel what you're doing is a good idea or not. It ain't got nothing to do with them. It's all about you and how you express yourself to other people and how you communicate who you are to other people. When you know who you are, you know exactly what you want, you know exactly what you're not going to deal with. You're able to set boundaries, you're able to stick to those boundaries. And you get to the point, I don't like this terminology, but you get to the point where it's easier for you to cut people off, in the sense of not out of your life, but detaching from them, not allowing them to have an emotional impact on you. You create a stronger presence, who you are as an individual, not only in a relationship, not only, you know, personally in your friendships or professionally, but you become a stronger presence because you've built that confidence in yourself. You know how to effectively communicate, and you've defined yourself. You haven't allowed somebody else to do it. And of course, you balance your chakras. You know, I had to throw that in there, but of course. So I'm gonna kind of just leave it there and, see if Allison, do you have any to add to the detriments or the benefits or anything like that?
I do.
Okay.
I think one of the detriments, on top of what Ruby's already discussed, is a lot of self blame, and this is where codependency can reside. Those of us, I'm a recovering codependent, thank God, but when you don't have a true sense of self, especially if you've been brought up in an environment where you were made to be the peacemaker, you were made to be the one to try to calm people down, or you've been labeled the strong one in the family, stuff like that. One of the detriments to not knowing who you are is you spend a lot of time searching outwardly for acceptance and appreciation. And once you start giving external forces that kind of power, who you think you are, what you think you're worth, what you think you deserve is now in the hands of other people. You've given that over. And so you get to a point where you take what's given to you. You just take it because you feel like at that moment, okay, well, I love him or her and they're treating me this way, so maybe that's what I deserve right now. You're not searching inward because you don't know what you want. You don't know what makes you tick and what you're looking for, or you do know, but you're afraid to speak on it. And so that can be one of the biggest detriments. You can spend your entire life having a value basically like the stock market. When everybody loves you, you think you're worthy, and when everybody thinks you're crazy, you think you're not worthy, and you can go up and down the rest of your life until you start to take that acceptance and say, hold up, the only person that needs to accept me is me. And
exactly.
If nobody else accepts me, and I know that I'm not doing anything that's detrimental to me, my health, or anyone around me, I know I'm not in the wrong. So it's just a matter of them not wanting to accept who I am, and I don't have to have that person accept me as long as I accept me. And so we got to spend more time learning how to practice self-acceptance. One of the benefits, I would say, is just freedom and peace. When you are really comfortable with who you are, you've taken away what people have tried to tell you you're going to have and tell you you're going to be, and you not only know what you want, but you're actively walking in what you want. There is a freedom and a peace in that nobody can really take away from you. You can have people who come along, and you may find somebody, I'm on relationships, that's my platform. You may find somebody that you fall in love with, and they maybe knock you off your rocker because they start off one way and then they seem to be changing up. And you may have that moment where you're kind of not sure what you want to do, but when your foundation is laid and you know what your boundaries are or not, what you do want, what you don't want, you don't deviate from that very long. You may be able to be understanding to that person's plight or that person's past or that person's current behavior. But as Ruby mentioned, you stop internalizing the things they do to you once you realize the way you're treating them is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. But likewise, the way they're treating you, good or bad, is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And so when you start to flip it that way, you're able to say, okay, this person dogged me out, but this person doesn't care too much about them. Because if they really love them, they would accept the love that I'm trying to offer instead of sabotaging it through these actions. So at that point, you can put the blame, quote unquote, back in the right spot instead of you walking away saying, I didn't do enough, I didn't say enough, I must not have been tall enough or big enough or rich enough or pretty enough or handsome enough. You can stop all that nonsense and say, this person clearly can't love themselves if they see what I'm giving them and they choose to give me the opposite in return. You can cut that emotional nonsense and just say, this is not what they want. And you can patch. So I think that is one of those benefits.
So many benefits to not being stuck in the ball of miseducation itself.
Yes.
Okay. So, of course, we've talked about that. We've talked about some benefits. We've talked about some detriments of miseducation itself. Now, we're going to talk about how this affects us in our different relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, we have our romantic relationships, whether it be it's a situationship, a textationship, courting, dating, relationship, engagement, marriage. It doesn't matter. But when you are still within this ball of miseducation of self, sometimes you allow other people to tell, well, you sometimes allow your partner to tell you what's best for you. Like, for instance, and you know what? I'm just going to go and put it out there. Intimately, somebody, we've all been there where somebody say, yeah, you like this, don't you? Yeah, you this and that. And it's just like, no, really, I don't. You should say that. No, really, I don't. I would prefer it be this way, or I prefer it be that way. But we don't do that because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Well, if you have this conversation before and you're well aware of what it is that you like,
Mm-hmm.
there's absolutely no problem with communicating that to the other person. If you don't like it a certain way, then just say it. And it's a way to say it effectively where it comes across like, well, let's work on this together in a positive manner, as opposed to it sounding like you complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and then as a result, there's a lack of you finding pleasure in these intimate encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you haven't opened your mouth to say, you know what, in this type of situation, this is what I like, this is how I like it, and whatnot. Stop, allowing your partner to tell you what you like, and you know clearly that you don't. That's just one example when it comes to a romantic relationship. Or either, um, can you think of anything, Allison, when it comes to like relationships with another person? I mean, of course, everything that we've said
Yeah,
already. I'm just saying specifically when it comes to our relationships with our partners.
I can.
Hmm.
One of the things, well, I'll bring up two. One of the topics that I discuss a lot through Be Still and Move is related to narcissistic relationships. When you're
Hmm.
dealing with a narcissist, and I won't get into all that right now, but what I'll say is the bare bones foundation is that a narcissist has an unlimited ability to take, and they tend to gravitate and attract and mate with codependents who have an unlimited ability to give. And so one
Hmm.
person ends up over full while another person ends up in a deficit. And
Right.
when we're talking about miseducation of self, one of the reasons that it's so important to know who you are is because you can end up in those situations where you're so busy trying to keep the peace, so busy trying not to hurt people's feelings, so busy trying to do something towards someone else that your needs aren't being met, nothing that you want is occurring. And, just speaking in terms of intimacy, if you're in a position where you can't tell somebody that you don't like what's being done, I'm not going to say you're in the wrong relationship, but you may not be in the right relationship at the right time, because you should never be in a position where what's happening with your body you're afraid to
Hmm.
speak up about. It should never get to that point. And if you're with someone who is that sensitive, again, I'm not going to say you're in the wrong relationship, but maybe that person needs to grow into the maturity of being able to take constructive criticism.
Right.
Um, and one of the other issues is you don't take the time to know what you want, and so the person that you're with will go through the roller coaster of thinking that they're pleasing you, and then hearing you say, well, no, I don't like that. Well, no, I don't like that. Well, can't we do this instead? Well, can't we live here instead? Well, can't you be this instead? If you're not taking the time to figure out, these are the things that I need in a relationship for me to stay and feel safe and secure and healthy and whole, and these are also the things that I'm willing to reciprocate so that that person receives the same thing. If you don't know what the heck to tell them you want, you end up in situations with a lot of different people, and you don't know why it's not working out because you haven't taken the time to figure out that they're doing what they think you want, but you're not telling them that it is what you want because you don't know what
Right.
you want. And so
That
if you
part.
so if you happen to be someone who's listening right now or on the replay, and you've had several relationships that maybe didn't last, and I'll give some examples. If you find that you're dating the same person, if you find that the relationship ends around the same time, no matter who it is or who you date or how old they are or what race they are, after 3 months they seem to be out. If that seems to be a consistent theme, you might want to take a
Right.
step back and say, okay, what is happening at this 3 month mark? And if the common denominator is you, be okay with the fact that the common denominator is you. Don't push back. Don't get defensive. Don't beat yourself up. Just say, okay, at 3 months, I'm doing something because it's happening with
Right.
everybody. What is it that I'm doing? Why do I keep dating the same person in a different body? Take the time to figure out where that's coming from so that you can experience something different.
Right. And to add to that, um, prior to getting into a relationship, don't allow other people to tell you what it is that you like or allow other people to tell you what your type is.
Yes.
Me, I've never really been one for my friends to be like, girl, I want to hook you up. No, don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. I don't need you to, I'm good. Don't hook me up with nobody. It's like I tell my mama, look, I want you to meet. No, you don't. You do not want me to meet nobody. But it's just like, don't let other people tell you what you're attracted to, what you want, what you're looking for in another person,
Yes.
and whatnot.
Yes.
Um, Now, with your personal relationships, I kind of touched on this earlier, where with the miseducation of self, you kind of get in that get yourself in those situations where you won't do something because you're afraid of what another person might say, or you won't do a certain thing because you don't want it to go wrong because you don't want some other person to say, well, I told you so, well, I told you not to do this, and I told you this, and I told you that. If you want to go start a business, go start a business. If you want to drop out of school because you don't like it, drop out of school because you don't like it. I mean, we have options.
All.
All of us have plenty of options.
Yes.
And just because it worked for one person does not mean it's going to work for the next person.
That's right.
Figure out what it is that you like,
Mm-hmm.
what it is that you enjoy doing, and focus on that. Forget what the next person is going to say. And if they always got something negative to say, then you need to reevaluate that friendship or that, whoever it is, you might want to reevaluate that.
Mm-hmm.
But um don't not do anything out of fear of what somebody else says. If anything, if you are not gonna do something, let the reason you don't do it is because you scared to do it, not because of what you think somebody else is gonna say or do or try to make you feel. Especially if they over there and they're not doing anything themselves. Let them be over there doing nothing, and you go over here and do something. And um pretty much on that, that's pretty much it. That's I really don't have that problem. It's a lot of stuff that I don't have a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
Like because I'm pretty much gonna do what Ruby want to do, and that's not to say that I just be out here willy nilly in it, not thinking about stuff, just making rash decisions and just doing anything. No, I fully think things through. It doesn't take me 3 days to make a decision about something that should only take a couple of minutes to decide on.
Mm-hmm.
I can process my pros and cons very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
For some other people, it may take them just a little bit longer. For me, it's just me. I don't have any kids. I don't, I'm not married or anything like that. So I don't have to consult with two, three, 10 other people to make a decision, which is completely fine. That's my situation. I understand other people, they have to dig a little deeper and go a little further and get a few more, opinions and input from other places. But if it's something that you really and truly want to do, then at the end of the day, the only person that truly has to make that decision is you.
Mm-hmm.
And don't Don't put yourself in a situation where you're just simply not doing it because somebody else told you not to do it.
Mhm.
That's just my 2 cents on that. Allison?
Yeah, this one hit home because I've actually had to walk it out within the last week. And
Ooh.
yeah. And so when we're talking about our relationships with our personal relationships, you have to understand that the universe, God, the creator, whatever you want to call that entity, it will connect you to people who will keep you on the right path, keep you protected, give you wisdom, give you advice. And we're not saying not to take advice from people that you trust. What we're saying is you also have to understand that their advice, while well intentioned, may still not line up with what you feel that you need to do. And you have to be strong enough in yourself to go against what someone who is well meaning has to say if you believe it is what's best for you. I've had within the past, well, this situation's been going on for 2 years, and it was related to my employment, and I stayed because of the salary and because of the flexibility, the perks, if you will. And
Right.
for 2 years, I've had the same conversation. It was almost like a broken record. It was, this is not the job for me. This is not the environment for me. I see it changing I'm not as sociable anymore. I'm irritable when I'm at work. I've been sick more in the last 2 years than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm seeing the signs that this needs to go. But when I talk to well-meaning people, of course, they want to bring up the obvious. Well, you should have a job first, and you still have a child, and you still need to take care of A, B, C, or D. And all of that made sense, but I allowed that because of the fact that I was still afraid of taking that step. I used that as a reason to justify staying. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I've done now, I put in my notice. I'm done. This month, I'm done. I still have things that I need to put into place. I still have things that I need to, set up so that we're still okay. But the bottom line was if I didn't make the decision, I was going to stay there and I was going to have another
Right.
year of the exact same thing. And I had to get to a point where I stopped talking to people. I had to sit down and talk to Allison. I have a best friend who loves me. I've got several best friends who love me. I have people who mean the absolute best for me and don't want to see me get hurt. But Allison was the one who was getting sick every
Right.
3 or 4 freaking months. Allison was the one who was snappy and bitchy and whiny. That's not me. I had every sign in the world that this was not the place I needed to be, and I kept staying for a check. That is never, did I say never? Never a good reason to do anything. And so when we're talking about that miseducation of self in personal relationships, understand that you can have people that you've grown up with. I've basically grown up with my best friend, but she still has her own path. I still have
Mm-hmm.
my own path. The fact that we have been grateful and blessed enough to continue to walk our individual paths after all these years is a great thing. But at no point does it mean that she has to do what I do or that I have to do what she does just because we love
Mm-hmm.
each other and want the best for each other. You also
Right.
have to have those relationships where people love you enough to know, okay, Allison is a bigger risk taker than me. So of course I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
give her my advice because I am a bigger risk taker. I didn't set it out that way, but I just have this thing in me when I just want to see if it's going to work. I have fallen on my face a lot, but the
Mm-hmm.
good thing about the universe is that it tends to look after the people who take those chances. I may have fallen on my face, but I've never fallen apart. And I've never gotten to the
Right.
point where I haven't been able to rebuild and even better than where I was before. I just believe that life is about taking chances. There's no need to be completely safe because we get one turn around this thing. I want to see how much I can do. And so you have to know that, okay, she's a bigger risk taker. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not going to tell her what I would do. I know her. You do
Right.
the same thing with your friends. Okay, they're not as big a risk taker as me. So don't come from that standpoint. Just say, okay, knowing you, this is what I would do. Having said that, I don't think that it would be out of line if you made a decision to do this and then leave it there. Because that's the other thing
Mm-hmm.
about miseducation itself.
Yes.
When you learn about you and you know about you, you stop getting offended when people don't take your advice. You don't get in your
Mm-hmm.
feelings. You don't get mad. You don't start thinking, well, I'm not
Right.
going to tell nobody nothing because nobody listens to me anyway. You don't have all that nonsense. You just like, you know what? They doing what they need to do for them. I gave my opinion. They doing what's best. If they like it, I love it. I'm moving on. That,
Right.
that's all I got.
Hey, Demario. And as you were talking, it made me think about that. Just like when you were saying, I know Allison is a bigger risk taker, or Ruby is a bigger risk taker. So let me give her advice from that particular standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when we have education of self, we take that into consideration. But at the same time, we also know that 9 times out of 10, whoever we're going to give us that advice, once they give it to us, we know they're coming from their level of understanding and their level of experience. They're not giving us advice for us. They're giving us advice for what they would do.
Right.
And once you are, you're self-educated, then you know exactly where that advice is coming from. Because it's just like if I asked you, let me see. I don't even know what I would ask you, but if I ask you a question and I know good and well you've never been in this situation, why am I even asking you in the first place?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
why am I asking you in the first place? And if you give me advice, where is she getting this advice from? It's just like, really? That's what you would do in that situation, even though you've never been in that situation? And I'm not saying that works for every single situation, but it's just some stuff you do not need to go ask somebody about.
Yeah.
If you know you want to leave your job, don't go ask nobody advice that's still at their job and don't plan on leaving. Don't know, just like I tell people, don't ask me no advice about no kids, no plants, no pets, because I ain't got none of them. Don't ask me. I'll listen all day.
Right.
And if you want to, I'll listen. But once I start talking about food and eating, don't get mad. That's what I'm familiar with. But I'm just saying, when you have education itself, when you ask that person and they give you an answer, whether that advice is really for you or it's just from their level of understanding.
Exactly.
Don't ask nobody for an opinion that you really don't want.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, you really don't want it. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, you still have to make that decision.
Yep.
And when you make that decision, only you know every single detail, only you know every single emotion, only you know everything that could possibly happen because it's you.
Right.
So, and now we move on to um the professional relationships. Pretty much the main thing that stood out to me when I think of miseducation itself, and whether you're working or whether you own a business or whatever the situation is, the biggest thing that stood out to me was you allow somebody else to tell you what you're worth. If you're at a job and they're only paying you $10, $12 an hour, why are you allowing that job to tell you how much you're worth? Or if you're a business owner and you know exactly what your service is worth, don't allow somebody else to tell you that you're charging too much. It could be that you might not be charging enough. And at that particular point, it may be something you want to reconsider. But if you know your product or your service is priced exactly where it needs to be priced, like I use myself for example, with my chakra consultations right now, I'm charging $50 for it. And the reason I'm charging $50 is because, first of all, I know my information, I know the benefit of the service, and I know how long it's going to take. So it's going to take anywhere from maybe 45 minutes to an hour. It's been times where I've been on the phone for 2.5 hours. talking. And, you know, I didn't rush the person off the phone or anything like that. But it's just, I think maybe at the time I was maybe charging like maybe 20 or $25. But for us to sit on the phone for 2.5 hours, that's pretty much only $10 and 12. It's not much at all.
Mm-mm.
And it's just like, you know, I need to get my price to where I feel is worth. And that's what I did. I started at 10, went to 15, 20, and, you know, worked my way up until I got to the point where I wanted to charge what I wanted to charge for it. But the thing is, because I know my worth and what and the amount of knowledge that I know and the benefit that I serve, then I'm able to say this is what I'm going to charge. And you should be able to do that as well. Don't let a job tell you how much you're worth, because they're defining who you are as opposed to you telling them what you're worth.
That's right. Well,
Stop falling for it. Stop it.
just stop it. Ruby is
Stop it.
right. She's just right. And that's where and it actually ties into what we just talked about with risk taking. My
Mm-hmm.
field is in training and development. I went and got a degree. My bachelor's degree is in information systems, and I realized while I was getting that degree that I preferred working with people instead of computers. So
Mm-hmm.
I have an IT degree I've never used. Well, I'll say this: I don't have to call the help desk as much if something goes wrong. I can usually fix it myself. But one thing that I've learned when I was back home in North Carolina, I hit a ceiling. It didn't matter how much experience, and at the time, I had about 12 years of experience in training and development, and I hit a ceiling. And it didn't matter where I went, it didn't matter what company I went, they were only paying that amount. But I knew that I could be paid more. And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up moving down here to Dallas. Now I moved here because I thought I was in love and stuff. And, you know, people were just like, Allison, you sure you want to do that? And, you know, I hit some bumps along the way while I've been here. And, you know, I've even had people who called me crying my first 6 months, just come back. Just come back. We'll figure it out. I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm going to make it work. So I have been here. August made 6 years since I've been in Dallas. And even though the position that I am resigning from is not the best fit for me, my income doubled. It
Mm-hmm.
doubled. And I've been there since I was here for 4 years. So it only took me 4 years. After having 12 years of experience, it only took me 4 years to double my income. But I may have never done that if I had just allowed myself to say, well, I've been in North Carolina my whole life, and my family's here, my friends are here, and I don't know anything else, and my friends don't want me to leave, and, you know, nobody else is making this kind of money, so maybe it's just me. Maybe I just need to be okay with the fact that this is what I'm going to make. And I wasn't. I was not okay with the fact that my salary did not match what I was putting in that classroom. And so
Mm-hmm.
now I can say that I've been able to prove that. I've been able to prove that to myself. I knew I was worth more than that. Now I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
another step. Now I'm going to start consulting. That's a scary thing. But one thing I've learned as a business owner for Be Still and Move, and just a little bit that I've had to do, sometimes, guys, you outgrow your demographic. Sometimes
Dun
you
dun
do.
dun.
Sometimes you may, especially those of you who maybe started off selling to your family, maybe that was the easiest thing. That's where you built your confidence. You sold to your family, you sold to friends, you did all of those things, and it worked. And then your price went up. And now you got all this, well, you charged me $15 before. How come I got to pay 30? And, well, you know, I can do blah, blah, blah. Let me just help you real quick. Anyone that you have who says that they support you but has a problem with what you're charging, just ask yourself one question. How many times do you see them at the club? How many times do you see them at the bar? How many concerts have they given up? How many times have you heard them say they're going to pay their rent late to go to a concert, go on a cruise, whatever? If the same people that you've seen do this have a problem with paying you $50, they are no longer your demographic. Don't get
Mm-hmm.
offended. Don't get in your feelings. Don't try to make them buy anything from you. That is the universe's way of telling you that you have been promoted. So allow the promotion.
Say
Promote
that, girl. Say that.
allow yourself to be promoted to a bigger, better demographic because I'm gonna let you in on a secret. There are people who will pay for what you're doing. They may
And then
not
ask
look
you,
like you.
right? And then ask you, is that it?
They'll ask you, is that it? There are people who will pay exactly what you're asking for. And you know what those people are going to do? They're going to promote you to another demographic. So don't stay focused on family ain't nothing. Stop putting up them memes. Family don't want to support you. Your friends don't support you. Leave that alone. Just say, I've been promoted. Every time you have a family member who doesn't want to pay and wants to gripe and complain because you're not doing anything for free, well, how come you can't do this for the family? Well, how come you can't do this for the ministry? How come you can't do this for
Wait,
exposure?
Allison,
Huh?
you okay?
I'm
You
good.
okay? Oh, okay. I
I'm
thought it was
good.
getting a little personal.
Oh, no, no, no. This isn't me. This isn't me. Because,
No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. That
but
was too real.
But it's
That
the
was really
truth
real.
because I've heard it, and I know you have too. You have family members that want you to do stuff for free. They want you to do stuff because you'll get exposure and all that nonsense. Exposure don't pay bills. And more importantly, it messes with your education itself, bringing it back because if you keep trying to fit that box, you stop thinking about how much your talent or your education or your services were because you have your
Right.
family trying to tell, well, if they don't want to pay it, maybe I'm pricing too much. No, my brother, no, my sister, you have just been promoted. So allow the promotion to
Yes.
occur so that you can get on to a bigger and better level of people so that you can keep growing and keep growing. Or are you just doing this as a hobby? I'm just saying.
Right.
So that's all I got.
Well, well, that's it. You said it. Uh, I thank you. I appreciate you. But yeah, that's it. This is stuff that happens when you are in that ball of miseducation itself. Start self-educating.
Mm-hmm.
Start doing for you. Start focusing on those things that you want, those things that you desire, those things that you deserve, and what you're actually worth. We out here talking about new year, new me, but you still letting the same people tell you about yourself. You're still not doing the things that you want to do because you're scared of what the same people gonna say. You still out here in the same situation that you was December 31st,
Yep.
still at January 1st,
Yep.
which is completely fine. But the thing is, if you really want to do something different, you can't just change one thing and expect everything to change.
Right.
It's not going to happen. You have to change you know what? It's kind of pretty much the opposite way. You got to change everything in order for one thing to change.
That's true.
You have to put yourself first in order to start doing what it is that you really want to do. Once you start doing those things that you really want to do, then you move on to the next thing that you want to do. And the next thing. That's how it becomes a habit. And then before you know it, you look back 3 months from now and you're like in a completely different place
Yeah.
because now you're a completely different person. You're surrounded by completely different people. You're
Yes.
marketing to a completely different demographic or audience.
Yep.
And you're not even concerned about where you were 3 months ago because you're focused so much on where you gone and where you're even going from there.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So this whole miseducation itself, we really got to stop that. And it just starts with you defining who you are, you
Yes.
balance chakras, you know what it is you want, you
Mm-hmm.
not really listening to what everybody else is saying, do what works best for you,
Right.
and put yourself first. Again, me and Allison saying you putting yourself first does not mean to neglect everybody else. That's not what we're saying.
Mm-mm.
What we're saying is you can't pour from an empty vessel. You can't even pour from a full vessel because once you start pouring from a full vessel, then you're emptying yourself.
Yep.
Once you start creating that overflow, that's when you get to everybody else.
Yep. That's right.
So you know, um, that's pretty much, it. I mean, it's been our that's our hour for Sunday. I think we've said quite a bit today. Like, each Sunday that comes around, we start with a topic and then we just end up sharing so much information. Sometimes we be surprised at ourselves. Now let me stop.
For real.
Of course, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up because I know y'all have other stuff that y'all have to do. But again, I'm Ruby D, the Goddess Entrepreneur, and you can catch me online at www.thegoddessgrind.com. Make sure you buy the book. I'm not gonna go there too much today with it, but this is my first book, The Goddess Grind. We grind with one eye open. Learn about your chakras, balancing your chakras, things to do to balance your chakras, and all that good stuff. Congratulations to me. I did finish the second book, and I'm also certified in, girl, I be forgetting. I am certified in, let me make sure I say the right word, and I be wanting to say remote, but it's rational emotive behavior therapy. So I've finally gotten that done. So now I offer that. It's a type of psychotherapy, and it falls right in line with me doing chakra balancing and everything that I'm doing. So because I'm becoming more educated and knowledgeable in my area of expertise, I'm just gonna put it out there. My price is not gonna stay the same
Come on.
because I'm able to provide more of a service and a more valuable service to you. I'm just saying that's what comes with personal development and developing who you are in your business.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I'm gonna let Alice go ahead and do her little thing.
What's up, guys? This is Allison. You can find me on Facebook under Allison Denise. You can also find me on Be Still and Move. You can find me on my YouTube channel as well as Instagram under I Will Be Still and Move. And don't forget to check out our official website, bestillandmove.org. We are the daughter company of the HGL Group, which is my new nonprofit that I established last year. More information to come on that as well, but go ahead and feel free to like that page on Facebook as well. Radio show, you can find me on radio. You can find me here on Sundays with Ruby. You can find me on Fridays on the Bad Squad on Fishbowl Radio Network with our fearless leader Tate. And congratulations to me. I've got a podcast coming up in the spring, so I'll send out more information on that as we finalize the details.
Y'all do that thing, girl. So next Sunday, I think we're gonna talk about blocking unwanted energies, people, and things.
Ooh, I like that one.
So yeah, we'll talk about that next week. With this miseducation of self, we gotta know what not to let in, and trust me, all of this stuff is connected. It really is. But next Sunday, same time, same place. We thank you for watching. We thank everybody for engaging.
Yes.
We look forward to 2018 being a very prosperous and abundant year and peaceful. So we will see you all next Sunday on Soul Sunday with Ruby and Allison.
Bye.
Peace.